So I'm going to do an analysis on Ann E. Kelly. What kind of district attorney is she? What is her judicial philosophy? And what does she actually believe in? Now, I'm going to make 4 points, and then I'm going to go through the different cases. There's a couple recent cases which I'm, not too privy about, but there's other cases such as Robert Thrash, Daniel Brandt, David Didelata, Christopher Mondragon, David Holstein, Fort Garland, Jessica Medina, and then there was Jonathan Aaron Wood. So I was going to talk about those cases mostly, but I'll try to actually cover a lot of stuff. There's 4 main points I want to make straight off the top. So with the Robert Thrash case, she didn't know right from wrong. Apparently, if you're a police officer, she'll, fight to the hilt. She'll fight a bloody cage match to make sure that whatever a cop does, whatever the arrest a cop had made, that she'll take that as far as she possibly can. So Robert Thrash, she didn't know right from wrong. There is another thing just with Jacqueline Mitchell. There's this neighbor who kept on messing with me, not only Jacqueline Mitchell, but it was also Phil Greeny. And, the very first time she's driving at my house, just like hollering and carrying on with the damn storm. Well, she was called into trial, subpoenaed. She was nervous and she was anxious. What she was worried about was that justice was going to be established. Jacqueline Mitchell was afraid that justice was going to be established, but Ann Kelly had believed Jacqueline Mitchell's lies. This indicates to me that she's sexist. So, Ann Kelly doesn't know right from wrong. Ann E. Kelly, the district attorney for the San Luis Valley, what is it, the 10th Judicial District? I believe, maybe 11th or 12th, one of those. The cops wag her tail. So she'll pull all the stops to make sure that the police narrative will work. There was just a recent shooting in Alamosa, and automatically they're saying that the one guy was the victim and the other guy was the perpetrator. Both go to the hospital, and they don't tell us what the damn incident was even about. They don't even say, who was doing what, who was standing where. They just said, this guy's the victim, this guy's the perpetrator. And so, since they've already done the judge, jury, and executioner, well, she's just going to let the cops run hog wild. And that's, basically worse of a police. That's fascism, right? That's totalitarian fascism. And then the last point that I want to make is these trials, none of them is on record. None of it is actually on record. It's not on record that any one of us, regular citizens, can actually get a hold of. With my case, I had paid $500 for, what I thought was audio and videotape, but actually it was written transcripts. So I paid they did me the damn form or whatever, and then I had to say which one of the dates, and then I had to, do all this specific crap, and then it goes to the damn outside company. I pay them $500 because they had, went ahead and transcribed, the written transcripts. I haven't got them. I haven't got a hold of those written transcripts yet. They was sent to the damn courthouse, and they've kept a hold of them. And that's, written transcripts isn't the same thing as audio or video camera. If you read what people had said, that's different than if you heard what people said or if you saw what people said. When you watch what people say, you get to see the body language, right? Just the words itself isn't the only thing you need to know. There's body language, and then there's the inflection, right? So the tone, the audio, the video, all these things matter in terms of understanding what was said, how it was said, but you can't even get the written transcripts. That's regular folks, right? Us, I guess, peasants or whatever. Maybe the judges or lawyers, maybe some judge or lawyer might be able to get access to these transcripts or the audio or the video camera, but not the general public. So do not think that the court system is on record. It's not on record. There's no transparency whatsoever. And then if you take it another step further, it's just like Palestine. Why don't they want journalists in Palestine? Why don't they want, audio or video in the courtroom? Because they don't want to, they don't want the public to know of the bullshit, the crimes, and the shit that they're pulling. So those are the first 4 points that I want to make. Annie Kelly is malicious, oppressive, corrupt. She's willing to suggest lies. Maybe somebody is sleeping with somebody. She'll uphold a person's life. The truth, or she'll uphold a person's lie. The truth doesn't matter to her. She'll uphold the lie. She's willing to suggest lies. And the truth ultimately doesn't matter to her, which when it comes to objective justice needs to stand on a firm foundation of objective truth. Law and order doesn't mean jack crap without justice and truth. So now let's take a look at what are some of these. She says that the summer of 2025 is going to be the summer of murder cases. So there's been some murder cases that had happened in San Luis Valley. There was a shooting that had happened maybe a week or two ago. They found a dead body in Costilla County, but in some respects it's kind of a breath of fresh air in terms of there hasn't been as many shootings. There was a serial killer, Audrey Burroughs. There was so much crap that was happening, but you had a couple things that had recently happened. There was somebody that did some shooting, and then they went ahead and got they chased him into Audrey Burroughs. I guess this is just apparently it's messed up, but it's got a whole bunch of articles written about it. But there was some recent stuff that had happened, so I'm not for sure why they are not pointing out those things. So Audrey Burroughs, there was a serial killer, right? There was a serial killer that was in Alamosa. That was before she was there. She got appointed. Alonzo Payne had got disgraced and kicked out, and then she was appointed, and then she ran for an election. She was able to beat Robert Willett, and I was actually excited that we had a brand new DA. We had a brand new DA, but they're all I was up against 7 or 8 DAs, and they all acted the exact same. None of them cared for the truth, and then once they got your body, then they want to abuse your body. So the murder cases aren't coming straight up. Maybe I should type in just, I don't know what, shooting Alamosa. And then there's the 8th Street shooting, right? Here's something. The victim, Jesus Parra, was shot and killed. The suspect, Larry Chavez, was taken into custody. Yeah, this is one of the things that had happened. So let's talk about that one. Larry Chavez. So this is going to be one of the cases that they are going to, probably try, right? The preliminary hearing. So he gets a preliminary hearing. Isn't that hilarious? If you enforce your amended, if you read the laws and you stand up for your civil liberties, well, you don't get a preliminary hearing. But we're going to give Larry Chavez, his preliminary hearing. Make sure he gets all the due process in the world. So I'm not sure if we've had a case with him or not, but this was something that had happened recently. So preliminary hearing, maybe we'll click that on. There was also another thing. Enrique Parra, 44, was the victim in a shooting, and the cause of death was homicide. So I guess they're saying this Enrique Parra Jr., 44 years old, was shot and killed. And then Larry Chavez was most likely the person who did it. There is a huge bail. She keeps on doing like these $1 million bails. And if you have a $1 million bail on the person, then you probably think that they did it, right? So 33-year-old Larry Chavez is being accused of shooting and killing that Enrique Parra Jr. So that's one of the cases. There is another shooting, bond set for Larry Chavez at $10 million right here. $10 million. At the request of the district attorney's office, the court bond was set at $10 million. Does anybody know the 8th Amendment? The 8th Amendment says you cannot have excessive fines nor excessive bail. $10 million? Like, I don't even if you made it $1 million, you think that guy would have found $1 million? And so that's murder is a pretty big deal. Can you really put a price on a life? No, but yeah, kind of, because there's wrongful suits all the time. Christian Glass's life was worth $19 million. So, they're just showing, how tough. She's a tough guy, right? She's a real tough guy. So he's, one count of murder. So this is just one case that's coming up, right? When they're talking about it's the summer of murder cases. That's one case. There was another case too, where I want to say a different. Yeah, I want to say it was the Sunset Inn Hotel, which that's an interesting place too. Yeah, this is it. Okay, so you have a triple shooting at a hotel in southern Colorado. Henry Corral, they said, fled from the initial crime scene in Alamosa, crashed a vehicle, and then ran away and hid. Corral's arrest took place after a warrant went out for him on charges that he killed one man, injured two others, and it happened at the Sunset Inn Hotel. They are some greedy. The wife is really crappy. The husband is really cool at the Sunset Inn Hotel. The wife is awful. The wife is awful. So they said that he had got into a crash. He tried to do a carjacking, and they said, I'm not even for sure how he survived it because the crash had totaled his vehicle. Following escape from the crash scene, the search for him grew. There was 80 law enforcement personnel. So there's, this is the other case, right? The other case is this Henry Corral. And who are they accusing that Henry Corral had killed? Henry Corral was accused. There was that one woman where the 2-year-old had died too. And that's, they raised the stakes on that. But Corral expected to plead not guilty. This was January 25th, 2025. So that's a recent case. I mean, the media is pretty terrible when it comes to telling the truth. But the media is all we got. So that's the reason why I mentioned that when you go to the courtroom, they like to think that it's on record. It's on record of what they can access. But since they're trying to steer the narrative into what they believe to be the truth, well, it's not on record for the public. It would be better if I was a judge. I would do it like Karen Reed's trial. I would be completely transparent. Bring your audio, bring your videotape, because I wouldn't be ashamed of me trying to get to the truth. I want to get to the truth so we can establish justice. But if you're just trying to, ramrod and railroad the people that get arrested, well, you're going to have to, do a bunch of illegal criminal crap, right? You're going to have to. So here is Henry Corral. Henry Corral in Alamosa. Do we have any pictures of him? We already got Larry Chavez. Henry Corral, let's do images. He's got a very particular look to him, right? Very particular look. Let's see here. Who is he? Was that Monta Vista? Is that what that is? Whole bunch of tattoos. Is he part of some sort of gang? It does make sense if you're, a part of a gang. That is, that would be good evidence, I would think. And I wonder what the significance, even if you're not part of a gang, like what is the significance of each one of those tattoos? There's not like, I've heard Crips, but they're not like Trinidad, Arago, or MS-13. They kind of have a local gang culture there. Like Monte Vista, there's like gangsters, like little, I don't want to say wannabe gangsters, because really all you got to do, the only thing that gangsters have over the rest of us is that they're willing to do the dumb crap, right? They're willing to, essentially chance getting arrested and, hurting people and not worrying about who they hurt. And then there's the other thing, too, that gangsters might have friends in jail. So, they'll have friends on the outside, friends on the inside. So, they're just living a nice, friendly, well, not friendly. Well, okay, so that's who Henry Corral is right there. And who is Henry Corral? Said that they had suspected of shooting. I want to say one person is dead. The coroner's office identified 61-year-old Aurelio Pena Jr. of Hooper, Colorado. So, who is this Aurelio Pena Jr.? Why was he doing it? Was he just, robbing people? Did he know any of these people? Oaks called Corral a danger to the community. Yeah, you think? Talk about the biggest understatement in the world. I think he might be a little dangerous to the community, a public menace, right? So, glad his deputies and other agencies went all in to catch him. I'd like to recognize and thank the tipster for the information they provided. This is District of Colorado U.S. Marshal Kirk Taylor. Kirk Taylor used to be the police chief in Pueblo. I'd also like to thank and recognize the incredible work of all involved law enforcement who pursued Corral with limited information and yet were able to still safely take him into custody. Why do they have limited information? I mean, that seems to be remarkable. So at least those two murder trials are coming up soon. So expect that. There was also some woman had dropped a baby or something, like a 2-year-old, and then there was this stabbing. I want to point out this stabbing too, Jessica Medina. So the reason why I point up this stabbing, when you look at the prior cases that, you have prior cases that Annie Kelly has taken a look after, she hasn't been very consistent. And so I'll just kind of point to the inconsistencies of what's going on. So let's see here. We got a couple articles. Only a few articles, though. So if you're a serial killer, you get, about 50 articles written about you. But if you just stab one guy, you just stab a single guy, who gives a crap, right? Not a big deal. Jessica Medina is part of the Democratic Party. I guess she's from 281 Fifth Avenue, Fort Garland. So because she registered to vote, this information is public. We all get to see, where she lives, which that seems incredible to me. You want people to register to vote. The man is fatally stabbed in Fort Garland. A 52-year-old man fatally stabbed in Fort Garland, leading to the arrest of a woman by deputies with the Costilla County Sheriff's Office. So what does this mean? In terms of what I understand with Annie Kelly, well, we don't know. We don't know for sure. Here's just the Valley Courier, which would be, I guess, the premier. The main thing, there's some other publications there. There was one that's giving them a run for their money. Forget their name. Citizen. There's a Alamo Citizen or something. Man fatally stabbed in Fort Garland. Priscilla Wagner has been writing, basically all the articles. So, the media has almost kind of, I don't want to say what do you want to call it, a monopoly on the truth, but in some respects, whatever the media says, it kind of seems to be how it goes. A 52-year-old man fatally stabbed in Fort Garland, and then they arrested her, okay? So, okay, she has blood on her hands, a knife in her hands. Now, Jeffrey Sugara, who is this 52-year-old Jeffrey Sugara? I don't know. I don't know any of these two people. Fort Garland, Costilla County is interesting because it's a big county. It's got small population 3,500 or so. But there's a lot of craziness that happens. And it's kind of big in some respects because it's like 30 minutes to get to Fort Garland. And then it's another 30 minutes to get to the other side. And then the corner to Horoso is like another 30 minutes. So you got like 4 corners of Costilla County. And so even though most of Costilla County is around San Luis, Fort Garland, I would say, would be the second biggest city in Costilla County. And then, Blanca and, some of the other ones. Mesita and Horoso, those are sparsely populated. But what am I trying to say here? I'm trying to say that Jessica Medina, 49 years old, is being held in alleged connection with the murder of 52-year-old Jeffrey Sugara. Okay, so we're not even going to say what the truth is. 911 call comes in at 4:15 p.m. Sunday afternoon. The caller stating that a woman had stabbed a man. CCSO deputies responded to a residence in Fort Garland where they found a man later identified as Jeffrey Sugara, 52, in a car, the victim of an apparent stabbing. Why are we not saying anything? It might be a stabbing and she might be the one who did it. I would be willing to wager that she's the one who did it. The question isn't whether or not it was done. The question is, was it self-defense? What's the motive? What's the reason behind all of it? Deputies took a female suspect identified as Jessica Medina, 49, into custody for her alleged involvement. She was in custody, scheduled to appear in court for a hearing on advisement. Judge Jason Kelly, who presided in the hearing, said Medina is facing a charge of murder in the first degree and set bond at $75,000. I thought Jason Kelly was the county judge in Conejos County. So it's interesting that he's going to Costilla County and he's, looking at those cases. They set the bond at $75,000. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Those other two guys, that one had a $10 million bond on him. She stabs a guy, and then she's getting $75,000, bond. And therefore, she needs $7,500 in cash, and she'll need a bail bonds, right? When the Valley Courier spoke with Sanchez on Monday, he said Medina something, something, something. So maybe we'll figure out what they said one day. Verify that I'm a human. All right, now that you see I'm human, That was all we knew anyways. 281 Fifth Avenue, Fort Garland, Colorado 81133. She was part of the Democratic Party. That kind of makes me like her a little bit. But Ann Kelly's Republican, so that might be a strike against her. So when I think about that case, there's a couple things, right? She's sexist. So since she's sexist, when Jessica Medina says it was self-defense, well, she'll probably just believe it. Stabbing, if I had a choice between getting shot or getting stabbed, I would think a stabbing is like so much worse than being shot. It's like just quickly get it over with. So whereas that Larry Chavez and I already forgot the other guy's name, but whereas those, other two murderers who I think is going to be tried this summer, they were, guilty of shooting a person. She's guilty of stabbing a person. And so when it comes to Robert Thrash, she doesn't know right from wrong. She's sexist. She believes Jacqueline Mitchell's lies. The cops wag her tail, so she was arrested, right? So therefore, she may believe Jessica Medina. It was self-defense and just, dismiss it. Release on her own recognizance. You get out of here, you. He made a move. He made a move on you. He pulled out a lead pipe and you had to stab him. I mean, sometimes... a woman's got to stab, You go, queen. You do your thing, queen. Sometimes a queen's just got to, stab a motherfucker. That's just that's what we queens do. But the cops had arrested her, and so therefore now she's got to try to make the charges stick, regardless of if it's self-defense. And then none of it's going to be on record. None of it is going to be on public record. No audio, no video cameras, and there's no written transcripts. You can pay $500 to the outside company. They won't give you the transcripts. They'll give her the transcripts. They'll give the court. They'll give the judge the transcripts. And nobody will be able to access them. So it's very privileged. The people that hear and see what's going on, it's public. Technically, it's public. Anybody, I would encourage everybody to go to these court proceedings just to be a witness, to things, And we got... social media, so anybody could be a citizen journalist, and I think the truth matters. Objective justice stands upon objective truth, and so if you don't have objective truth, then you can't really tell who's the bad guy and who's not the bad guy. There was a shooting. Let's point out that shooting. So there was a 5th Street shooting, Alamosa 5th Street shooting, and they just had a guy that got shot, 8th Street shooting. So a guy got shot, and then another guy got arrested. So it was almost like, well, who did what and what did who? There was just, the 5th Street had happened. They're just saying they discovered a male victim with a gunshot wound who was conscious and able to speak. Why don't they say he got shot in the leg? They got to use such weird-ass language. But they're not going to mention who the victim is, right? We're going to know, I like this guy, but I don't like this other guy. So Daniel Barella, we know, is 60 years old. Is 60-year-old men in Alamosa just going around just ganking people, just trying to rob people in the alley and stuff? That doesn't make sense to me either. Daniel Barella, 60 years old, was also hospitalized. So he has injuries. The other guy's got injuries, but he's going to be taken into custody. And then he's getting charged with all these charges. So whether or not the other guy was, in the wrong or right, automatically, this guy's already guilty. This guy's already guilty. This is going to be the information, the narrative that's going to be shoved down the jury's throat. They're going to use, throw everything at you, including the kitchen sink. She'll use the intercom, speak like Oz. She'll suggest that the guy's sleeping with the witnesses, and she'll just make up a bunch of stuff. She'll take the lies, enforce the lies, and make sure it's the truth. That way, Daniel Barella never sees the light of day. Who's this other guy? If we had good media, somebody got shot. Somebody got shot for a reason, and we would like to know the damn reason, right? And it's like, hey, I just want to say thank you. And it's like, why don't you tell us what the hell is actually going on? Nobody says what the motive was, and then Priscilla Wagner, right? Same damn author. And does she really give a crap about the truth? I mean, it's just about selling papers, right? And really, if it bleeds, it leads. If it's gory, it's a story. Here, and then everything that they wrote in that damn article came straight from the city of Alamosa. So they just copied it, basically copy and pasted it verbatim. You're supposed to, that's the official version. Okay, this is the official version, but as a journalist, you're supposed to question the official version. That's what was it, Jake Tapper was saying, as much as you like to think that the people in charge are telling you the truth and it's all on the up and up and it's all honest and You know, they're right. You should be skeptical when it comes to the official version. No shit, Sherlock. No fucking shit. That had to do with Biden and his dementia. So, again, the suspect is Daniel Barella. Who's the victim? We don't know. It's a male victim, which is, I don't like that. Why isn't he a man? He's just a male. And then a gunshot wound. He was conscious, was able to speak. So that means he's still alive. And hopefully, he still lives. He's being charged with second-degree murder. If the guy still lives, then that means he can't get a murder charge. And then there's first-degree assault, robbery, and reckless endangerment. My God, if that's not a second-degree murder charge, what about attempted murder? Criminal attempt. Okay, maybe that's what it is. Criminal attempt, second-degree murder. First-degree assault, robbery, reckless endangerment. That's almost like, those are like nothing compared to a murder charge. Assault, you don't even know what that is. It could be self-defense. Robbery, okay, that's a bad one. Reckless endangerment. But then Robert Thrash, they try to say that he was, guilty of some kind of robbery too. And what was Robert Thrash doing? Well, Robert Thrash was just, standing up for the courts. He was enforcing the will of the court system. And so let's get on with some of these other cases. So David Delata, I'll just cut this 30 minutes and then do another one, so that way I'm not going too far. But I do want to talk about all these different issues, because we could try to find out what is her judicial philosophy. These people don't want to say, what's right, what's wrong. They give you no sense of what's right and what's wrong. And Ann Kelly could have came in and just kind of told everybody what's going on. I'm the boss, do what I'm saying. My priority is stopping the robberies and the arsons, the rapes, and the murders. These are my 5 priorities. And then everybody would have listened. If she would have said, here's what I think is the process for, the procedure. Here's what I think is good evidence versus bad evidence. Everybody would have listened. But instead, she's trying to go along to get along. And then, I know all the laws. You just need to obey me, listen to me. And then she's, kind of protecting the elites, those who are running things in San Luis Valley like her. And that should, give you pause as well. So David Delata. David Delata is a guy, oh my God, why is all that happening? Okay, David Delata is a guy that had shot a Omega, something. David Delata shot Omega Revelation. And so we got to be careful with that. I don't know if we actually have any pictures of him, so let's not talk about David Delata. Maybe, do we have Omega Revelation? Is that possible? Golly. That was a trigger warning there, huh? So, Revelation. Omega Revelation. Okay, I am the Alpha and the Omega. Man, why don't we have who... Omega Revelation, and then he was McCullough, okay, so McCullough. Alright, so I'm going to try to images again, bounce right back. And look, there's like nothing. There's nothing on the internet about either one of these people. So that's like incredible. David Delata shoots and kills Omega McCullough, and then that's it. That's the last we ever hear about that, so I'll just go ahead and tell you some of the details. I only got a little paragraph here. So that happened May 27th, 2022. David Delata, 38, shot and killed Omega Revelation McCullough. M-C-C-U-L-A-G-H. I wonder if that was the thing, because I said McCullough. So let's try to spell it the other way. Let's see, McCall... Do we have, let's see, correction, David Delata served 8 months in jail, not 6 months. Oh, okay. So, that's an important correction there. So there's no pictures of either one of these two guys. Where the hell was the media? And this was all, hush-hush, just behind closed doors. There's no audio, no video, and if the media doesn't type about it, then the public's going to be completely ignorant about all of it. So I'll just start with that one, and then it looks like we're getting to, I got 20 seconds. All right, David Delata, 38, shot and killed Omega Revelation McCullough, 36, on County Road 11, just west of Blanca, Costilla County, in the 12th Judicial District. Ann Kelly didn't even take the case to trial. Apparently, when the only witness is murdered, then Ann Kelly doesn't believe that she could prove her case beyond a reasonable doubt. Ann Kelly didn't even give it the old college try. She didn't give it the old college try.